What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Thank you all for the support lately. As always, absolutely off the charts. Love seeing all the new faces inside of Discord, inside of TikTok, inside of the YouTube communities. So thank y'all so much for that. Now, in today's video, I am excited to talk about this. We got 6 of our opulent weapons back with this season and the derelict Leviathan. Some of these are some of the favorite weapons of the community by far, at least, that got sunset, and now they are back for us to grab. And then also we can craft all 6 of these, so that means enhanced perks as well. First up on our list is the long-awaited Austringer hand cannon 140 to come back. Shot this thing a little bit, and let me tell you, it feels crispy. So first off, we're going to go over the PvE roll for this bad boy, and then the PvP, as it will be for our other 5 weapons. So for our PvE God Roll, I'm going to go with corkscrew rifling here, just for that extra helpfulness and handling, stability, and range on this bad boy. In our second column right here, I'm going to go with a pendant mag, so we get a couple extra shots without taking that negative to our reload. Now, in our third column, you can either go with triple tap or outlaw. I personally am going to go with outlaw on mine, with also rampage. Now, you can go with frenzy again, so you don't have to have those defeats to proc rampage, but I think outlaw rampage is a great combo for this weapon. If you're going for a grenade build, definitely go with demo, but for me, I think the God Roll for PvE is going to be outlaw rampage. For the PvP God Roll, this thing absolutely slapping so far. I'm going to go with small bore so we get that stability and range on this bad boy. Next, as always, going ricochet rounds again for ranged and stability. S tier perk for PvP. For our third and fourth slot, me personally looking for a snapshot sights rangefinder roll, maybe rampage for that extra little bit of range and damage increase on those defeats, but definitely this roll right here with rangefinder snapshot and ricochet with our small bore is going to be absolutely gnarly in PvP. Alright, so for Beloved, for our PvE God Roll, I'm personally going to go with Arrowhead Break for recoil control and handling. In our second column, again going a pendant bag, so we get extra shots in the magazine without taking reduction to our reload. Now, in our third and fourth slot, I think I personally am going to go with 4 times the charm. So after we hit precision shots, we get 2 more ammo in the magazine. Pairing that with box breathing, so while we're aiming down sights, we have better range and precision damage. We also have this new perk, which doesn't really work as much for here as it will like on Calus Mini-Tool, but defeating targets spreads that scorch to those nearby enemies. More powerful combatants and opposing guardians cause the scorch to have a larger radius. So this might be good for that ad clear, but I still think box breathing with 4 times the charm is the way to go for PvE. Now for PvP, this is pretty much going to be the same as always. We got small bore for range and stability. Once again, ricochet rounds for range and stability. Now, as always, for a sniper, I love snapshot sights, so you're just ripping down sights with aiming. Definitely the best perk in that third column. And then in our fourth one, you can either go quick draw to pull it out a little bit faster if you're hot swapping from like a hand cannon, moving target if you use it while you're sliding around, or even possibly rampage if you're stacking up that ammo, but I would probably go with a snapshot for sure, and then quick draw is what I'm looking for my PvP God Roll. Next off, we're going over our Drang Baroque sidearm that has solar burn, has a nice fast fire rate. Love this thing in the old days, and it still feels super great. So for me, I'm actually going to go with small bore for my PvE God Roll to have that extra range and stability, because sidearms definitely lacking in Destiny via both of these categories in my personal opinion. In the second column, you have a few different choices for my God Roll. I'm going to go with Tactical Mag, so we get increases to magazine, reload speed, and stability. You can also back that up with Appended Mag to get increased magazine size. Now, in our third column, I personally am going to go with Wellspring here, so we get ability energy on the defeats with our weapon. In our fourth slot, I think we have two options. So Incandescent, another one, defeating those targets, spreads Scorched. So I think this is going to be a good way to spread that Solar 3.0 around and create some crazy synergy in that PvE realm. And then we also have Rampage to give this thing a little extra oomph, which sidearms definitely need in the damage category. Now for PvP, we have a pretty standardized role once again. We're going to go with small bore for range and stability. Next off, we're going to go with accurized rounds for that increased range again. This thing absolutely slaps when paired with small bore. Now for me, I am personally going to go with quick draw so I can pair it with something like a sniper, so I can whip this thing out super fast and get that extra damage I need on those enemies. And then I'm personally in Crucible going to pair it with Swashbuckler so I can get that instant stacks to ×5 on those melee kills and get that extra damage that this boy needs. Backing that up, I might go Rampage so on defeats I get that extra little bit of range as well. Next off on our list, we have the Calus Mini-Tool Solar SMG. Now for our PvE God Roll, once again, I think I'm going to go with our Arrowhead Break for increased recoil control and a little extra handling on this bad boy. In our second column, I'm going to go with Tactical Mag, by far my favorite here, just because Extended Mag does give you more in the magazine, but hurts your reload speed, so I personally go with Tactical Mag for those PvE instances. Now in our third column here, I have two options for us. Unrelenting, so rapidly defeating targets triggers health regeneration, and then Threat Detector, so when we are surrounded by enemies in close proximity, we have increased reload stability and handling. I kind of am leaning towards Unrelenting so we can get that health regen a little bit better than having this, because this weapon is already pretty stacked in these separate categories. In our fourth slot, now for me, I am definitely going to go with Incandescent on this one to spread that Scorch around to nearby combatants, and then that'll just create that crazy synergy with Solar 3.0 in my personal opinion. And then to back that up, we're going to go with Surrounded. Threat Detector Surrounded on an SMG is pretty cookie cutter and super great when they both proc and pair together. For our PvP God Roll, you guessed it, we're going to go with small bore here for range and stability. Backing that up is accurized rounds, pretty much my only two go-tos. It's definitely a personal preference for me. Some people like steady rounds so they can have that stability with a little less range, depending on what platform you're on, everything like that. It's a total personal feel really in these first couple columns. But moving on to our third and fourth column, for me, for my God Roll, I'm either going to go with actually Slideways. So upon sliding, we get 15% of our magazine back, stability, and handling that lasts for 3 seconds. So that's going to be kind of nice because this thing can get a little bouncy, and that handling is nice if you're pairing it with something like a sniper. In our fourth column, I think I'm going to go with Tap the Trigger actually, or maybe even Incandescent, so we can get that Scorch to proc on fellow Guardians, and then Tap Trigger, if you just spam the click instead of holding it down, you get an increase in that stability and decrease in that recoil. It is super nice to have that Tap Trigger on and just kind of peg and burst rather than holding it down consistently. Now these last two, the Epicurean Fusion Rifle and then also our Fixed Odds Machine Gun, I have not earned them via Opulent keys, but we will probably have them in other weeks' rotations of the Leviathan different rooms, stuff like that, as well as they are in our patterns, so we will be able to craft these at some point, but I have not earned either one yet. So going over the God Rolls, these are the old versions because they're not even in a light.gg yet, so we might have some extra perks that might not be in here, especially something like that Incandescent on Fixed Odds since it's a solar weapon. So for this Epicurean, for our PvE God Roll, not really sure how to go about this, like I said, just because there might be extra perks that aren't in our light.gg files yet. But for me, I am personally gonna go with our fluted barrel here for stability and handling on this guy while we're out in the field. I don't know why I like this on my weapon that I have, and it just feels good for me on my fusion rifles. I personally like liquid coils to get that extra little bit of impact, even though the charge time is slower. Definitely helps in the PvE realm. Now for me, this is an interesting one again. I like Threat Detector to be surrounded by those enemies. You get that increased stability, reload, and handling, but like it says here, tap the trigger is also a great option. Now for me, the PvE role that I'm looking for, I do love Demolitionist on weapons. Being able to reload by throwing our grenades and then getting defeats with the weapon gives us grenade energy. So I do really like Demolition on this bad boy for PvE. Now for PvP, just kind of like it was before, we're going to go with small bore on this bad boy, but accelerated coils, so it has a faster charge time. Now I personally am going to go with tap the trigger or quick draw, just because tap the trigger is an interesting one to get proc sometimes if you're kind of pre-firing corners, but quick draw is super nice when you're backing it up with a hand cannon, something like that, and you got to pull this bad boy out fast. Now for the option, I'm going to go with Swashbuckler so we can get that instant damage increase on melee kills, and then also just gives us a little extra damage on those defeats when we're actually using the weapon. Last but not least, this fixed odd solar machine gun that we have that will be available sometime this season. So for the PvE God Roll, as they have here on light.gg, I love the arrowhead break for that recoil control, especially on some of these machine guns that have that crazy bounce. For me personally though, I'm going to go with appended mag again because we get that increased magazine size without the penalty to reload speed like extended mag has. Now, like it has up here, definitely going with Feeding Frenzy Rampage, one of my favorite combinations of perks on machine guns for the PvE realm. They just feed so perfectly together. Now for PvP, don't know really how to go about this again because we might have other perks, like I said, like Incandescent, which would also be good in the PvE realm. But for me, for this PvP God Roll, I'm going to go with small bore so we get that extra ranged and stability on this weapon. Backing it up is ricochet rounds as always for this guy, just to get that extra range and stability once again. Now for me, for this weapon, I might actually go with no distractions. So when you're aimed down sights for a 1 second, you have reduced flinch by 35%, and you're only picking up every so often, and most of the time you are aiming down sights with it. So this is a nice little addition so you're not bouncing all over the place single time you get hit. Now for me, again, I'm going to go with Rampage on this weapon so we can get that extra damage. Not that we need it, but none of the other perks really speak to me for the PvP realm. So we're just throwing Rampage on there because it's a great perk in general and feeds well for the PvP realm and PvE. So that is it for our PvE and PvP God Rolls for our Opulent Weapons here. Our first four, Austringer, Beloved, Drang, and Calus Mini-Tool, easy to obtain via our Opulent keys on the Leviathan. Haven't been able to get the Epicurean or the Fixed Odds, but they are craftable in our patterns, so we will get them sometime in the future here in this season. So hopefully this helped you guys out, pick out these God Rolls, get to grinding our four out that I talked about, Austringer, Beloved, Drang, and Calus from those chests, and get these God Rolls. Loving having the Austringer back in my hands for that PvP. So thank you guys so much for watching again. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.